Welcome to Alpha Wolf Trading. Did you know that there's over 12,000 stocks or companies that trade on the OTC? Between the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, you have over 7,000 companies. But us as retail investors, we wouldn't know that unless we were researching. Because why? Wall Street focuses on the elite, the big companies. And where the retail investor has their advantage is in small and micro-cap stocks. Why? Because you have the opportunity to speak directly with leadership. That is what this is all about here at Alpha Wolf Trading. We're trying to find the hidden gems, and we interview the executive teams of companies that we think meet the parameters to be those hidden gems. I also want to make sure you understand that this is not a paid-for promotion. I collect no compensation for the interviews I do here. These companies that I interview have been identified as potential opportunities for me and the members of Alpha Wolf Trading to receive a higher than average return on our investment. These companies I have identified either because of a technical setup on a chart, a fundamental change within the organization, new management team, new products, all kinds of different things that actually lead me here. But what do I think is the most important? Leadership. And that is why I do these interviews. I want to understand what drives the person that is leading the charge. I want to feel their passion. I want to understand their vision and the strategy that they're going to use to achieve success. That is what these interviews are for. I want to understand the share structure and the cap table, the size of the TAM, the total addressable market. This is the opportunity to learn all of those things. So sit back and enjoy. And if you learn anything from today's interview, do us a favor. Subscribe to the Alpha Wolf Trading YouTube channel. Today's interview is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please do not take this as investment advice. Do your own due diligence before investing in any security. Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with one of my favorites, Peter Evans from Xtract. Peter's a real busy guy, so we're gonna blast through this thing as fast as we possibly can. Peter, thanks for coming in to give us an update. I know you're busy as hell, man.
Hey, great, Tim. It's always great to catch up with you. I love our conversations. And yeah, busy is an understatement right now. The team is rocking and rolling right now. It's a good time to be in the business. It really is.
All right, let's just talk about a couple of highlights. You've had some recent announcements of like the HEB Center, right?
The HEB Center, named after the grocery chain. Yes.
Okay, so you seeing any slowdown in interest in what it is that you provide?
Not at all. In fact, it's only accelerating. We're seeing a lot more interest in particularly like manufacturing, distribution. Since the NBA came out with their edict around how people could use frictionless screening solutions back in September, the interest rate has significantly gone up. I think we've done demos with every single NBA team. I'm actually out at one of them right now, who's a good friend. Particularly manufacturing distribution has also really stepped up right now. There's been more and more gun issues happening in those kinds of environments. And so, you know, the pace has not slowed down. It's only picked up. And of course, schools now, it's a lot of the schools are going through the budgeting cycle.
I saw you write up a piece on campus security the other day.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We're trying to do as much as we can to get our name out in front of schools, not somewhere we were targeting initially. So we're a little bit later to the market, but we're accelerating very, very fast in terms of those engagements.
Okay. International, last time we talked, you were getting pulled basically into.
Yeah. We did not plan to go to international because going international, you need support, different time zones, different languages, different laws, different tax implications, different certifications, which is the biggest cost of all. To be certified, every country has their own certification requirements. So we didn't want to take on those costs initially. We thought we'd stay at home. But the fact that we can uniquely catch knives, which is the big problem outside of North America, has really drawn us very quickly. We've got a number of activities going around the globe, but primarily in Europe and kind of Eastern Asia, with some very significant organizations that I'm very pleased to be working with. My air miles have gone up quite a bit these days, as has my team. But we've also landed some really quality partners that are helping us scale the business cost effectively. So I like that.
Oh, beautiful. So, all right, I don't know if you noticed, but on my screen here, I have these pictures of
Yes.
these things that are security, I believe. I mean, do you recognize these things at all?
Yeah, yeah, those little towers there at the Sphere,
Yeah.
absolutely. What I love about that is that's an example of the artwork and very creative artwork that we've seen around wrapping the towers to make them fit into the aesthetics of the venue. And for those who've been to the Sphere, once you've gone to the Sphere, you'll never want to go to any other arena again. It's beautiful. The Sphere is to other arenas what LeBron James is to me from playing basketball. Okay, it's that much farther ahead. So to fit in that aesthetic is
Yeah.
fantastic. And we've had some great feedback that we're going to write up into some case studies about the impact, the positive impact that having our technology has had on patron ingress, food and bev sales, security levels. And of course, MSG has been a fantastic partner. I mean, what they're doing with facial recognition there to identify band patrons, VIPs, and things like that has been value that we've been integrating into our technology to give advanced capabilities. So it's more than just weapons. It's so much more about the guest. And we share this vision with MSG that this is about the customer journey. From the moment that they decide, I want to buy a ticket to go see you two at the Sphere, to the moment they're sitting in their seat. How can we leverage digital innovation to make that journey seamless and a great experience? And so the platform we built allows us to do that. It allows them to do that. They share that vision. They've already worked us on integrating new innovations that are making that much better at the Sphere and every other place that MSG is. And we're now taking that to other customers too.
So let
So
me give you an
yeah,
interesting observation. So I have to credit this to one of my followers that actually reached out and let me know that he was going to you two. And I said, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you just take a quick picture of these columns? And John said, absolutely. So, and he did, but security wasn't exactly real happy about it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I appreciate John stepping up like that. But I asked him, I said, how was the experience? How was the flow in? Because it's busy. I mean, it's a very busy facility. And he said it was fast, but he said, people are still used to having to pull everything out of their pockets. So before they approach it, they're doing that, right? Which
Yeah.
is slows things down a little bit. But as people understand, get used to your system, that's not going to be, you're just going to get better and better results.
Absolutely. And so what we find with a lot of our customers is, we'll spend quite a bit of time making sure they're set up for success up front. But it usually takes 30, 45 days before people kind of get it. They're coming back a second time, a third time. And it's fascinating. If you look at somewhere like MSG, the Rangers fans have got it. There's something unique about hockey fans. And you go to a Rangers game, that's flowing like this. Knicks game, not so bad, different audience, different demographic, tend to all arrive 5 minutes before tip off and expect to get in right away. And they've all got large backpack. But then you go to something like a concert where someone goes to MSG once a year, once every 2 years for a concert, they may not have experienced it. And they're grabbing all their metal and putting it in a big clump like this and looking for a bin to put it in. And so once people get through that flow, it just keeps getting better and better. And of course, the AI engines are constantly getting updated with new information about weapons and phones. And as we continue to refine and the systems learn, so it's an experience that even MSG would tell you every week it just seems to get better and better. We see the alert rates go down, we see the throughput go up.
And, I mean, this may not seem like a big deal, but getting into a venue faster, right? It does for the venue, I would think, is it creates more revenue because you now have people that are in the venue longer, earlier than they normally would have been, which means they can buy more food, drink, and
Yeah.
merchandise,
So
right?
it's one of those things when you build the ROI for an activity like this, it's kind of hard to correlate exactly how much food and bev sales. We all instinctively know it. What's the first thing you do when you go to arena? You buy a drink, buy a beer, buy a pretzel. But then you ask the question, well, is Tim going to go to an event and buy 4 beers and he gets in earlier so he just does it over a longer period of time, or is you actually going to buy a 5th beer? So we work with one venue, and I can't name them right now, but we'll put out a case study on them. And they actually shared with us the data, and they track data unlike any venue I've seen on the planet. And they can directly correlate the fact that because they were getting people in faster during the month of November and December, they generated $5.4 million of incremental food and bev sales during those 2 months as a result of our systems getting them in faster. And they can make that direct correlation based on minute by minute sales and what they saw over prior years where they tracked the data. So that to me is great. And it just tells me I need to raise the price of my equipment and start getting a share of that revenue.
That is fantastic. I think that's probably something that people are missing, but that is to me a significant number, right? I mean, those are numbers that I would think, being in Las Vegas, the casinos would pay attention to,
Yeah.
right?
Well, whether you're casinos, or whether you're arenas or your stadiums or your live entertainment venues and you want to sell merchandise and t-shirts and things like that. When people have got more time, idle time sitting around a stadium, what do? They walk around and they buy things. It's why airports have become shopping malls now.
Yeah.
So, and so people take advantage of that idle time. So we don't aggressively pursue, you could make this much money because it's hard to track for a lot of venues, but there's no doubt there is a huge upside for that. The bigger upside we see, the one that makes me most, I guess, happiest, while there's a great ROI for staff savings, every time I'm at an event and someone walks through and they go, "That's it? That was cool." I don't know if I told you this story, Tim, but one lady walked through a system. She looked at me and said, "That's it." And I said, "That's it. Enjoy the show." She said, "That's swanky." And I told all my marketing people, go change our brand name to That's Swanky.
I love it. All right, so you were just recently named to the top 50 fastest
Yep.
growing companies, or most attractive.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. 2 years in a row, which speaks to the pace of growth. I think we've talked about these numbers before, Tim, but our fiscal 2022 is 240% growth over fiscal 2021. 2023 was about 365% growth. That was all done while our first quarter of this year, we did about 66% of the amount of business we did all of last year. So, those are nice growth numbers. That was all done while keeping our OpEx flat and in fact down 6% year over year, which talks to the efficiencies of the business and how we're scaling without necessarily having to add a lot of headcount and a lot of cost. So we're very efficiently scaled. There are things I want to start doing this year. Now that we've got multiple quarters under our belt of showing, strong financial performance and continued permanent financial performance. Now that we've got a story, now's the time to kind of go drive the stock price more. The story's valid. It's no point trying to drive the stock price if you can't back it up with brand names like a Kia or like an MSG or a Sphere or the schools or the hospitals we're in. And so now that we've got the proof points behind it, it validates the story. So it's now time to put a little effort into that stock value.
Yeah, look, I know you probably take some heat from retail investors that, they want more press releases, they want more of this, but what, look, when you're building a fluff company, yeah, press releases are, I guess, your gold, right? But when you're building a company for a long, you're here to stay for the long haul.
We're here for the long run. I'm not here to be a pump and dump company. We're here to be a quality company that's got predictable growth, aggressive growth, and has a path to cash flow break even, which we can see a light to that now. And then start continuing to invest in innovation. So you continue to be, Apple, not BlackBerry. And those companies who don't invest in innovation eventually become roadkill on the internet highway, right?
How long have you been here, Peter? How many, is it 2 years?
3 years. 3 years now.
3 years.
Yeah.
So, typically, and this is my experience, a turnaround takes on average 2 years, right? So for the culture to really set in, for you to get to a point where you're now attracting top tier talent,
Mhm.
to your team because you're validated, right? I mean, all pieces kind of fall in together, right? And you've
That's
built
correct.
now a good team where, I mean, there was a time when literally you were it.
Yeah.
Everybody, right?
Well, yeah. And well, that's part of it was, when I first came on board, you're right, this was a turnaround. Realistically, 3 years ago, we didn't really have a product. We didn't really have customers. We didn't really have partners. We probably didn't have the best brand. And there was a lot of frustrated retail investors, no doubt about it, because it was a bit of a fluff company. So the focus has been real products validated, in the marketplace by quality brand names, and then, drive efficiencies and scale in the business. We've got a great sales leader now and great sales staff underneath him. We've got a fantastic engineering leader. Love what he's doing in innovation. We've probably done more in the last 6 to 8 months than we did in the prior 3 years in terms of innovation. So we're on a fantastic path there. And so the machine's moving, right? Which means that I can use my time a little more at a leverage scale for more of the strategic partnerships and those kinds of things out with the investor community. Whereas the last couple of years have been very much about let's get this thing stable and growing hard. Right now, with that in mind, we've got a great team. We expect to scale. We'll scale globally. We're going to continue to try and keep repeating the kind of financial results that we put on the board before.
Okay, so listen, I know you're a busy man. One thing I have to ask you.
Yes, sir.
On track to be approved for use in the $4.6 billion target market. Which target market is that?
Yeah. So when I first started here, my strategy has always been, and my success with companies has been, don't try and do everything for everyone. A lot of startups are so desperate for revenues. Anytime a customer says, well, could you do this? It's like, yes, and yes, and yes. And you end up with a bunch of all these orphan products that have been built for like one or two little things, and the cost of support's high. I'm a big believer on focus. And our focus was, if you think about stadiums and arenas, already had security staff, already had security budgets, already had patrons who are used to being screened, versus, say, schools. No security staff, no security budget, no, the kids weren't getting screened. Much harder sale. You got to convince them first they need it, then to get the budget, and they got to fight for that budget. So we went hard after arenas. That was the $4.6 billion market that we were targeting. And if you think about it, if I can go into arena and say, I can get them in faster, better, cheaper, and save you a bunch of money and get a lot of food and bev sales, that's a good value proposition. It's a great way to start a company. Now you got referenceability. Oh, would you like to come and see it at Madison Square Gardens? That's happening tomorrow with a customer, the CSO from a very, very large Fortune 50 company. And now you've got the credibility and the references, and that helps you move into the adjacencies like distribution, like manufacturing, like schools.
The platform, is this still the number 135 billion TAM?
Globally, if you look at all those segments that I just talked about, schools, hospitals, manufacturing, distribution, arenas, stadiums, live entertainment, even if you start to get into commercial properties and hospitals, it's 135 billion globally. So our focus was, let's do one market first and do it right. And then almost like hitting a bowling pin, and it starts to knock down the next pins and the next pins and the next pins, right? It kind of bumps into the adjacencies. And so we started with arenas. We got pulled into other markets faster, and then we got pulled internationally faster. So we're now playing in that $135 billion market.
All right. Are you feeling comfortable about the team you have assembled now?
Yes, very much so. It was kind of a little bit of a one-man show there for a while, but now that we're on a great track, we've invested correctly in the right skills. We've also invested in manufacturing and doubling. I think I've mentioned this before to you, Tim. We see the demand and we see the backlog. And we've been able to stay ahead of the demand curve for manufacturing. We're on track to double our manufacturing. We just completed that here at the end of January, and we'll be on track to double that manufacturing capacity again by the end of July to serve the demand that's in front of us and that we've already got as a backlog.
Two last questions. Are you still having fun?
Always.
And are you excited?
This is the most fun I think I've had in my career in the last 25 years. It's a good company, great customers. I'm out with a customer today because I like being in front of customers. I like being on the point edge of the stick because you can hear what their demands are and reflect that back in the company and make sure that we're customer driven, not product driven, if that makes sense. And that to me is a lot of fun. Are there things I want to grow faster? I'm monumentally impatient. I really want to drive that stock price. I really want to get the top line growth moving faster. So that's just my impatience about things. So yes, I'm having a lot of fun. And we're doing very, very well.
I know you want to
very
drive it,
excited.
but here's the thing. Like I was saying, there's fluff companies and there's real companies, right?
Yeah.
And even though you're impatient, you're not making impatient mistakes. You're being smart.
Yeah.
And I commend you for that.
Yeah. It's again, I was mentored by some folks who were very focused on build a good business. A business that's highly predictable, strong profitability, highly respected, high integrity. And instead of you having to push it, people will come to you. Investors will come to you to put money in because they want to be part of it. People will come to you because they want to be part of something cool. Partners will want to partner with you because they want to be part of what this cool thing that's happening. So it's like bees to honey. Build the right honey, the right sweet honey, everything comes to you.
I love it. All right, Peter. Thank you so much for coming in and to do the interview. And we'll catch up with you.
We move toward the ISC show, which will be in your backyard, Tim, in Vegas. Let's you and I plan on get together and do an update on the business for everybody.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks, Peter. Thanks for the time.
Take care, my friend.
Thank you for tuning in to another CEO interview here at Alpha Wolf Trading. We had Peter Evans from Xtract One, ticker symbol XTRAF. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor, give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, why not give us a follow? Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Trading wishes you the very best of success.